Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mensen van die Kaapse vlakte, hoop het gaat goed samen met jullie. Ik heb een special guest vandaag in de studio. Hij gaat nou een public service announcement maken. But before we get to him, let's just talk about the week it was. I don't know if you guys saw, Mitchell's plane was bleeding. Youngsters were dying. And actually yesterday as well, I think it was 2 young people that were shot as well. They were actually killed. So I don't know, on the Cape Flats, the meaning of life or the value of life means nothing. It's us killing us. And we're going to talk about it later, and I've asked him also to maybe tap into it. And we're going to talk more about that. And then also, I want to talk about, what's happening in SAPS. A very serious allegation was made yesterday, and from somebody high up in the KZN SAPS fraternity. And I think it's very, very crucial for the president to take serious, all matters into his hands, because SAPS is a corrupt institute, and we need to speak about it. Many people don't want to talk to SAPS because of how corrupt, not everybody, but how corrupt a few are. And I think yesterday's whole media briefing was very important, and I think Cyril needs to step in, or you have to step out. We need to become more serious about the well-being and the safety of our people. And so also in the week, I will have another live, just before I start, with a few people from the community. We want to talk more on what's happening on the Cape Flats, gangsterism and drugs and stuff. We used to do it back in the day, and we stopped, but I think it's important for us as a community to have a conversation. But without any further ado, I've got a young man in the studio with me. He goes by the name of Yuzriq Meyer, Mr. Yuzriq Meyer. Welcome, Mr. Meyer.
Salute Kaapstad, Mr. Meyer, back with another public service announcement. Great to be here. Cape Flat Stories, my brother. Thank you so much for inviting me and to everyone in the studio. I appreciate it. Love and blessings, yeah.
Much love. I followed him 10 years ago. I started following him when he going viral. My daughter was about 9 years old. She's now 19 years old. She actually told me that they asked him this question, so I realized my kids also follow you.
Yes.
So you have literally become a household name.
Listen, you talk about this. A friend of mine, not actually a friend of mine, some person on Facebook just commented on something. He's like, you know what? I saw this video when I was 17. I'm 27 now. And I was like, yeah, since it's 10 years gone by, it's been a decade already. But yeah, I mean, I think just starting it off early was, like, again, when I always tell people this, we never got into social media because we thought of this and, the likes and views and where it was going. Yeah. We were just really just crazy, having fun, doing videos, and it turned into this,
Yeah. Today is part of your life.
Yes, 100%.
But Yuzriq, tell me quickly, your first video.
Yes.
Can you still remember?
Look, so the ones that people see online is not necessarily the first videos, because I keep thinking about it. I have this old laptop with videos that I did on a V360 and an E250. Okay. So we still got those videos and some on a handheld camera. Yeah. So we did lots of acting, lots of skits, me and my friends, me and my cousins. So the first video that went online was obviously the Well Purpose one and the Pokemon Go one. Those were the first ones that came out. But other than that, there's another. I wish I could access this hard drive. I'm actually going to bring it to Malik. There's about 50 videos that people still haven't seen that came long before those ones. Yeah.
And it started there with the videos, but also at the time, like my daughter said, I was asking this question.
Yes, I'm listening.
That time compared to now, being internet famous then, internet famous now, is there a difference?
Look, so I think back in the days we were probably of the first people kind of doing it for the first time, because no one had done it in Cape Town. So yes, obviously in the States, in America, people were doing vines, people were doing videos for a very long time, but Cape Town or South Africa hadn't caught on to that vibe yet. So back then it was first like, what is this? This is new. Oh my gosh, like who's this guy? Why is he making videos and why is it going viral? Why is everybody watching it? Today I feel like it's easier because more people, because TikTok has made it so that I mean you can literally go viral in a day. Doesn't matter what you post. Like if something is appealing, if something is funny, if something is crazy, you can, like, I mean, to hit 2 million, 3 million views, like 10 years ago, 11 years ago was like, it was unseen. It was never heard of. But now you can go viral. I think now the playground's open for everybody. They kind of made the market so that everybody can tap into that now. Yeah.
And the other thing is this, Meyer, like, so now you have learned the game over the years. But do you ever think that you can turn this into a brand?
100%.
Because now you're not only the internet guy anymore, you are Mr. Meyer.
Yes. Look, I think I definitely made it a brand already, going along the way. I mean, we did so many things along the way, where we did merch, whether we did cups, whether we did mugs, I hosted shows, I did MCing, I can name so many things. I've been to every single club in Cape Town, every single event in Cape Town, from weddings to club events, artists. I've worked with all of these people. I've done videos. I've worked with them. I've collaborated with them on Bush Radio. I've collaborated with them now on the PSA podcast, and just generally in my life. And it's a brand already. I love it, Mr. Meyer.
I love it. I love it.
The public service announcement. You know exactly what it is, yeah.
And being on the radio for more than 10 years.
More than 10 years, yeah.
Long, bro.
Yes.
Getting up in the morning. I mean, your show is every morning entertaining. People love it. It's inspiring. What keeps you going?
Look, I always believe that the fundamental part of my job is to basically uplift other people who are going through a tough time. Because I know how hard it was for me prior to that growing up, because no one had been the type of person for me while I was growing up. So I thought, why not I be that person?
Yeah.
So why don't I motivate the people I know? Because I was actually on the ground. I was really in the streets. I know the friends. I know the people. I know what their mindsets are, what they were going through, because these are my friends. These are the people I hang with. And then I listened to daytime radio, and I was like, this doesn't sound like our people.
Yeah.
And we always had this conversation. I remember myself and a friend of mine, youngster CPT, we had a conversation about, the colored representation was so low, because we always had to sound like a whitey, or because this is the only way we're going to be on the radio. So I was like, I have the platform now. I'm going to keep it real and talk about how I talk and other people, because my art has to be a reflection of my reality. Ek gaan 'n bietjie praat soos my mense praat. Van hulle verstaan mos van my. Ek kan nie sê vir jou, hi guys, welcome today we're at another episode. Ek sê, kyk die mense gister, toe gebeur die goed, julle verstaan mos die. So I started talking like that, and it gained a big following for people, started to understand the realness of it. And the idea was always, number one, to uplift the people. If you look at the long years, 11 years in radio, I've every single artist, singer, dancer, rapper that you probably know or listen to right now, I probably had them on the show. I probably played the song for the first time. I probably helped them with their music, whether they say it or not, But I know this, and my idea was always to make the table longer. Because I was like, if I could do it, if I came from the Cape Flats, dan kan julle dit mos ook doen. So let's uplift everybody. That was always been the mission.
And you were a normal guy from the Cape Flats.
Yes.
You weren't, jy het gebly in Constantia.
No.
So it's from the Cape Flats.
I'm from the Cape Flats, 100%.
And the thing is our people think that you need to, like, by mense, they don't know your history.
Yes.
And so now they assume, Meyer, maklik. Tell us, where were you born? Tell us more about your childhood.
So born and raised in Athlone. Okay. So I was living in Athlone. I went to Athlone Pre-Primary, I went to Sunnyside Primary, I went to Belgravia High. I moved, when I was a bit younger, I moved to Mitchell's Plain for a while. I lived in Woodlands. On die rooi blokke gebly vir 'n lekker tydjie. I stayed in Woodstock. I stayed in Q-Town a bit. I stayed like we had so my dad moved around a lot, obviously. So I moved with my pops, and we had different neighborhoods, different areas, and a lot of places inside Athlone as well. Crawford, Belgravia. Ek het getoer, Boeta. Ek is eintlik moeg van die storie vertel, but I had quite a journey, man, all over the Cape Flats. And I mean, my friends were from every single place. I've spent time in every single, whether you're gonna call it ghetto, township, with friends, family, cousins, uncles. We were, so I mean, that was the early days,
And also growing up, you didn't grow up like during the apartheid era. You grew up after, right?
Let's say, so I mean, technically, no, but I mean, if you, let's say I'm not a born free then, if that's what I'm saying.
Me as well.
Yeah.
But how did it affect you? Because it still had aftermath
of, I think when we were younger, that wasn't really a big thing, and we were kind of looking at, but we kind of saw the divide as you got a little bit older. So it was, the divide would be going to different neighborhoods. I remember actually, I'm going to say quote unquote, white area. My mom happened to move into a place, into an area that was considered like, let's say, more upper teen, So ek het nou aangetrek, want ek kom ons nou van die Cape Flats, ek kom aan, ek trek en elke rijd ek kom aan met my brasse. Ons kon lekker in, ons kon aangestap, ek en my neefs rijd toe, ons kom maar. Nou, ek sien ek het mos die key op my en my ma sê, my ma sê by die huisie, nou moet ek oor die hek jump, because there's no other way to get in. But I know the door's open, en ek jump oor die hek, yes, is my bro. Ek sê van daar 7 vroumense en mans wat uitkom, what are you guys doing here? How dare you jump over here? You guys trying to break in? I say, sorry mate, but we actually live up here. There's no way in hell you can live here. Ek sê, hallo, ek bly hier boem. And
Enjoy.
went inside the house, you know what I mean? The parents, they came back, they were like, we're so sorry we had that here. We just thought, be like, so then for me, just growing up, this has been a youngster, this is like early teens, and saying like, okay, the racial divide and you know, and people, because you got the stigmas of, okay, as jy van die Kaapse vlaktes, as jy bruin is, as jy met jou klomp rasse is, you have to be trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the thing is, we were always, for my friends, I think myself and my friends' family growing up, none of us were like, it was even sunny. We understood, but we were really just being kids.
Yeah.
And I think growing up and seeing a different place, like, okay, so living here for a while and then becoming friends with those people. But I also started to learn to adapt. What I realized is when you move around to different places, you become more sophisticated.
Okay.
You start to learn a little bit more, because now I'm thinking of some of my friends that stayed in the areas, stayed in the communities. Hulle het nooit van die communities, they're just sitting on the same place every single day. And I think that keeps your mind sheltered. And I think that's also what's happening today in the Cape Flats.
Yeah.
If you don't move out and you aren't exposed to more things, you start to think that environment is all there is.
Yeah.
And I think because I moved a lot and because I traveled and I've seen more things, it allowed my brain to expand a bit and to see more things. And I think that's also definitely what's lacking in our communities. Like our children need to have more opportunities. But you know, I'm gonna get very deep into politics. I'm gonna tell you about how I really feel about everything.
Let's start it. How do you feel about politics?
Look, for politics right now, if I'm going to be honest, my completely 100 honest opinion is there's so much corruption that's going on. I mean, I think not just South Africa, the world at large is like, I think it's corruption on corruption. I don't think there aren't good people doing some good work, and I mean, I salute. I'm sure there are people with good hearts that are going out there to do their best to change. But if you look at the narrative for South Africans, now I'm going to take this back here. I mean, you look at the apartheid, you look at the Group Areas Act, you look at how people that were moved onto the Cape Flats. We look at this early days. I mean, my parents originally come from District 6. So for me, the stories of District 6 were sang in my ears all my life, you know. I heard about the 7 steps. I heard about all the places, my grandfather's homes that were bulldozed, and my family had to move to Mitchell's Plain. They lived in Woodlands for a while. Now, I look at the story, and now today, in retrospect, so much has changed. Yes, we went into democracy. This happened to change. But also mense sukkel nou nog, no?
Yeah.
When it comes to gangsterism, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to our children becoming messed up, I personally feel this is what was set up to happen. Because I think they know that brown people together are very strong, and if they should all connect and become one, I don't think they'd be able to control us. But now what do? They get people to throw drugs into the community. Maybe some of these people are getting their own friends, families hooked on drugs. Why? Because the thing is, if you can't think, you're not going to think about the bigger picture. Terwyl ons mekaar doodmaak, lag hy mense aboe.
Maak hulle geld.
Hulle maak geld, so skiet julle mekaar dood, maak julle mekaar vrek, terwyl ons sal net, we will benefit about this. And how do we benefit this? The more people that's going into prisons, the more people that's going to jail, more money is sent into the prison system, more money is sent to the police stations and things like that. You get in a certain quota, but julle weet visie mense. Julle weet almal hy goeie, but you want these people to go in. Why? Because you want more statistics, you want more brown people in prison, you want more of us to completely wipe each other out. And I mean, we've seen this over and over, and I have this conversations with my friends also, like, also, this is set up. Julle kan mos sien as 'n setup. I mean, if we talk about the government, we talk about what they can do, but also is part van it. Because we also feed into the same thing. And this is something that I have to say, I'm actually very tired of movies that entrenches the gangster narrative for brown people all the time. Die beste movies van ons is wat? As Four Corners, as, you know what I mean? Noem my Scully. It's always these kind of movies, but as jy nou dink van ons, why is it not normal people? You know, why is it not the positive stories? They might be, but that same narrative is entrenched over and over through the music, through the movies, through the arts, and if people look at the bigger picture, is that they want you to be this. Hulle wil hê julle moet vir dollars. Maak mekaar frik, roek julle in julle moeren en gaan dood op die pad. But think of the bigger picture. Why? Why is this happening to us? You know what I mean? And I think brown people need to also wake up to that. So now we look at the gang violence. Now we can say, no, we need to stop this. The government needs to do this. But why are gangs fighting? Like I say, they fight with turf. They're fighting over drug sales. But then what is the bigger picture than that? It's poverty.
It's
unemployment. It's lack of education. Obviously, ek gaan vir jou gaan doodskiet of because the thing is, I need more money so I can support my family. I'm not saying what they're doing is right, but what I can understand why people do what they do. Because you can sit lekker in your house, maar ek like die goede wat die mense doen nie. But they are all victims of circumstance also. Yes, you can also decide how you go about things, but you are a victim of circumstance by default by living on the Cape Flats. And there are great stories from the Cape Flats with people who don't do gangsterism, people who don't do drugs, they come out. But I mean, if this is what you see, hy ry nou 'n nuwe kar, ek maak ook 'n nuwe kar ry.
Yes, hy's 'n beroep van my.
Hy doen hy, ek wil ook daar uitkom. And so it's so easy to fall into that trap, and it's sad. And I just wish that we would wake up more to understand about what's happening. The bigger picture is it's more than what's happening in your community. You need to look further than that. Yeah.
And you've mentioned something now that money don't really go into education.
Yes.
We still have, I mean, I want to say we don't even have a gutter education anymore. We have 60 ladies in the class. Do you feel also that, yes, we need to stand up? Because you said if we unite, they will take us serious. But because we are also divided as a community, as like my and say cronies, ek and my cronies.
Yes.
But when do we start seeing the bigger picture? If my and his cronies and I my cronies, we come together and we start fighting for better education. I mean, education was, sorry to say, but there was less children in the apartheid era in classes than what there is now.
Yeah.
We have an influx in the classes. And they don't really invest money. So would you say, things are only going to start changing when we start accepting one another as brown people?
As brown people, yes. And I think that's going to be one of the hardest tasks. You know, I got an alum and say this because also mense is baie jaloers op mekaar, but the thing is we were taught this, man. This is something that's ingrained in us to be like crabs in a bucket. We are never going to be happy for another brother going up because hulle gesê hy skelm, hy wil alleen friet. You know what I mean? This is the mindset. Or if someone is doing a bit better, so man, I dink hy's kwaai. Or if someone is going a bit further, so man, hy vark dink you know what I mean? This is the kind of thoughts we have. There are some people that genuinely say, you know what, I appreciate and I like it, my brother is going forward, but as a collective, as people, I think we were trained in such a way to believe that there's not enough pie to go around. So almal wil gryp, dis my stokkie. As ek genoeg gekry van my mense, ek wou nie van julle nie. To get that, to get we need to start getting the idea of abundance back into people, but that only happens when the let's say the societal divide changes. Because now you have a whole lot of poor people living below the breadline. And you get people that are semi-middle class, but now the middle class is kind of disappearing because everything's expensive now. And then you get the upper class, you know, that has more money. So it's like, bro, when are we gonna start accepting each other if this divide remains? If you go home to a nice warm bed, home shower and alles is lekker en ek gaan huis toe na 'n stuk huis, we are never gonna be the same. En ons gaan nooit die goeie sien dieselfde nie. Because ek gaan sommer vir jy kyk die varke, hulle gaan dan lekker aan nie, and then you gonna think sommer, oh man, kyk hoe liewe hulle. This is the mindset that we've been unfortunately plagued with. I call it it's like a curse that our people have, you know what I mean? And I think the way we do it, person to person, if you're watching this right now, it's for you to get more education. It's for you to go learn a little more, for you to read a little more. I'd say this more, very importantly, you have to read. You have to know what's happening around you. You have to know your history. Very important to know your history. Because I think if you don't know your history, you'll find yourself making the same mistakes over and over. And we've made the same mistakes, you know what I mean? And we look at our forefathers, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. Their mission was trying to fight the struggle, right? We came into a world with sort of democracy, so to speak, right? But we were still fighting. I'm gonna say, quote unquote, a semi-losing battle, man, because the system has set you up to make you not win. And you have to understand that there are gatekeepers, and there are people that don't want you to win, and nepotism does exist. There's a lot of things I can tell you about, but I mean, our people. You can't explain this to them all the time. Because miskien gaan mense die kyk môre en sê ja, maar hier kom maar ook gesê gister. But did you actually get the message here? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to get the message because the message is we need to unite. 100%. Ons kan nie meer wag vir nog 10 jaar nie, man. Because as ons nog 10 jaar gaan wag, maar dit gaan my lyk asof ek, dit gaan jou kinders asof ek, dit gaan se kleinkinders asof ek. When do we actually switch on the switch, man? Today, are we going to change? We're going to stop killing, because they never die, like I said, they put the drugs there, they put the guns there, but they know there's no, ons is nie emotional, mature genoeg om nie te sê mekaar dood te skiet nie. Ons moet mekaar dood skiet. And that's why you don't have the resources on the Cape Flats, like the recreational facilities to help us to develop the emotional intelligence, you know.
Yes.
Ons kan nie eens oor die weg kom nie. As ek kwaad is vir jou, gaan ek nou 'n post maak op Facebook, ek gaan jou uitvloed.
Yes.
Instead of me coming to you, bruh, but I don't agree with you there. Also accepting one another's differences, man. As like, ons kan nie mekaar se differences accept nie. Your differences means that I have to kill you. The other thing that I want to talk about, and maybe you can help me, is the Sabella language, bringing it into the music now. Look, when I was young,
Yes.
my uncle he was a gangster. I always tell people this. He didn't want to teach me that language.
Yes.
Because I didn't do my time. I didn't do the things that he did. So you didn't get the language so much just so. You had to do your things.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you look at the youngsters, and especially the young people on high school.
Yes.
They listen to the songs on the radio from some guys spelling or people here on Facebook, and they adapt that language. They don't know what they're talking about.
Look, I mean, my personal take on this, it goes same to the movies, it goes same to the music, like, and also just like the Cape Colored ego attached to something meaning manhood and and all that kind of thing. So they listen to this, but we are only further entrenched in the idea of what the people want to do and to believe us. Because, I mean, whatever language, whatever you want to add into the music, and kids now thinking that's cool, you know, that is to their own detriment, because it creates the same cycle that what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like we uneducated, we don't know, we think this is the way, but we have been made so to believe that is kwai.
Yeah.
Dat is die beste, dat is die enigste ding. Yeah, this is dumb, man.
Yeah.
And I get that, because if that's all you're exposed to, you're going to start to believe that that's the only way.
Yeah.
So I think over and above all, I think education, if I had it my way, we'd have free education.
Yeah.
If I had it my way, like, if I was the president, Senor Meyer para presidente, we definitely have free education and free rehab facilities. The world, everyone is always looking for money. That's NGOs, that's plekke, that's skole, almal soek geld. But what doesn't show you that ons het nie genoeg geld nie, niemand het genoeg geld nie. And it doesn't matter how much money you get, you still need more money.
Yes.
Because you want to maintain something. So I think the lack of resources in the country it's alarming. Whether it's corruption, whether funds have been mismanaged along the way, where there's not enough, where someone is fattening their own pockets, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think I can give you the correct answers, but I think listening to that kind of stuff in music, seeing it in movies, it entrenches the same. But I can also tell you this, when I was younger, we also thought it was kwai.
Yes. Yeah.
So
same here.
Like, ons het ook gedink dis kwai. You know what I mean? Ons gesien elke jaar ouens is op die hoek, Isabella, and they doing this and that, because we from ons is van die neighborhood. Ek wil soos hy ook wees. Ek wil ook so praat, ek wil ook so staan. This is as a youngster, but then growing up, then you come into different spaces and you're like, but how does this benefit me in the real world? No? How do I conduct myself when I'm in a room of CEOs, business people? So now, I remember, you know, lots of friends that I knew, I took them to events, and like, for the first time, meeting actors, singers, dancers, Indian people, white people, black people, all kinds of people, just people, you know, and remembering, they saying, mas my woman man, ek voor die mense. Like, hey, wat moet 'n man doen? Because I didn't know.
Yes.
And then I take it to myself even a step further. I maybe wasn't, for my first time coming into those spaces, and then a friend of mine saying, nah, ek voel 'n bietjie klein, he had an inferiority complex being inside the rooms with these people, because all he knew is what he knew. And whether he thought it was too little that he knew, and I can't even, I weet nie om te interact met ander mense nie. And then when they have the talk, because when you see our people from different places in the Cape, having conversations with people that are businesses here, then always, like, you know, the news story, it's always someone that doesn't talk liquor. That's the one representing colored people. This is me watching the edits. I believe that people
over there
mustn't fuck with us. Which is the real thing now, and I know people who speak like that. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm saying is education is going to be very important. It's for you to go learn English more, to go learn your Afrikaans more, to speak different languages, to get out of that community mindset we have, typhon, fitna, and gangsterism, and drugs, and it's like our brains is like, bro, it's like it's soaked in this big bath of that, and that's all we see. But there's there's a big agenda happening here, and I think our people have to wake up. You know what I mean?
And the thing is this, like you say now, traveling. A lot of our people are starting to travel now.
Yes.
That's the one thing that I appreciate. You have been traveling now. I've also followed you to Medina and those places.
Yes.
Tell us more about it, because I can sense I used to know, when I followed you, you should have the gatmaker.
Yeah.
But now I saw you should have, nee, but dieper, it other side van hom. It's a spiritual side, because as we got to know you on the platform on Facebook, we also got to know a bit about your spiritual journey. Tell us about that. Traveling in your
I think that may have been one of the single most mind-blowing moments of my life. I think being a young carefree person, with not much responsibility. So if lots of my earlier videos that came across is very crude, I was very wild. Because the thing is, ek het dit real gehou, man. The thing is, and I had lots of friends and family that I was operating with, and I was now the people talk behind closed doors. Even die groot mense wat gesê het, jy moenie so praat, jy moet gelyk gesê sy mense. Ek het nogal baie gelyk. Kom ja. So I mean, this was me talking. This is me acting like a friend's mom, a auntie, a uncle, and seeing that, and then kind of acting on that, and then doing videos on that, and just like doing my surroundings. And then I think as I grew up, I started to get more wise. I started to understand a little bit more. Also, I think once you come to a certain point in life, then I think growth has to take place. Like if people said, Mr. Meyer, is dieselfde persoon gewees het wat hy 10 jaar gewees het, that shows no growth. Be like, yo, but you changed. That's the point. That's the whole point. And I think going on that spiritual journey, look, I am still who I am at heart, but people know that faith and your style and who you are is something different. So faith is something that you have a personal connection with God. And I think through going that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up lots of doors for me, and I saw the world differently. I started to understand, getting back home and for the first time, seeing the Kaaba for the first time, being in those spaces, people are like, yeah, but you're still making funny videos even though you're there. I'm like, yeah, because I'm still me. I know what that feels like, and that I can't share with you. We got no 24/7 saligas, you know what I mean? Because this is what people have the false misconception. Oh, so sy's nou nie keken, so moet elke dag kyk like this. So you went to Makkah for the first time, you went on Hajj for the first time. Now you can't crack a joke anymore. Salam. Alaikum. Hallo, kom hier binne. So daar, maar ons maak nie jokes nie. Ons is by die Kaaba. No, because the thing is, I mean that makes absolutely no sense, because we are multifaceted. Human beings are multifaceted, because there's some days you're sad, some days you're crying, some days you're angry, some days you just smart to be funny, some days you just smart to be you. So people are always going to see different sides of me, and I just think that my personal connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater than it's ever been. I firmly believe that you have to pray 5 times a day, no matter what happens. And ever since I've been there and come back, I don't ever think I've taken that out. I think prayer, people don't understand the important part about prayer is the reflection part you get, the ability to connect, to slow down, to have introspection, to think about, this is what I want in my life. This is how far I want to go. These are the goals that I have, and I think very, very important. Not just Allah says you moet 5 keer per dag salah. It's about what it does to you. It calms you down. It brings you to a point. People think it's a lust, but I think you don't really understand that you need that. So, I mean, going back to your question, I think the journey is not for anyone that has been on Hajj or Umrah. I don't think anyone can explain to you. I can tell you what I did there, but I can't tell you how I felt. That's something only you would know. And if you're watching this and you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Meyer, you had a lot of criticism.
Yes.
On Facebook. And there's a lot of trolls. There's people calling you names. I mean, I also have experienced it.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? Because hulle ken nie vir jou nie. Maar hulle gaan sommer sê, nah, hy's 'n kakbra.
I'll be honest with you, man. I think back in the days, maybe 10 years ago, it used to affect me. Like, for the first time, even though it's I'm like, yo, hulle sê sommer diva in my oor. Ek moet nou iets terug sê. But now I realize, when I talk about it on top, we collaborating. No one who's above you, is gonna pull you down. So someone has to be below you to be wanting to pull you down. And I'm a firm believer in that. So if you're gonna say something about me, ek gaan niks sê nie meer, because the thing is, you aren't worth my time. And if my goal is to grow and to go forward, that's what I'm gonna consistently do. I can't sidetrack to connect to a troll, because I think is some people have different ways of getting famous. So some people want to get famous in different ways. If your way of getting famous is kakpraat van mense, then by all means go for it. I've seen this story over and over again. No one who brings someone else down on social media ever makes a great impactful impactful mission in their life, because you'll see people start to believe that people obviously enjoy it.
Yeah.
People love when people badmouth other people. Most mense like sy.
Ja.
It's gehoord gesê is 'n poes. It's gehoord gesê is 'n hy. It's gehoord. Nou, I'm sorry, I'm out now, but dis mos Skype stories. Ek sê mos stryd. Julle like dit as mense mekaar afbreek. Dit maak jy sommer lekker voel so, or maybe someone is low-key hater en dat jy sê miskien iets. Ek likes nog wat hulle vir hom gesê. Hy mos kwaai. Wat jy long kak. Wat gaan hy nou sê? I'm beyond that mindset where I still feed into that. Where I be like people like, Mr Meyer, jy gesien wat sê die mense? Jy gesien wat sê die mense? I say, so what? So what? What is my goal? And then if you look at the journey of what any of those people who badmouth you right now, if you look at they've done nothing of substance. Like I don't even want to go back and give him the list of the long things I did. Ons gaan heel dag hier sit ek het daai gedoen, julle het dit geryk op daai ding, maar julle praat wat die. So now I think I got rhino skin, man. Zeg maar whatever sê ek dink net gaan jy maar aan met jou ding. I don't even get angry anymore. It doesn't emotionally affect me at all. It's like I'm on a whole new level of unbothered. Like I would have 100 videos here, people saying this, and I'm like, whatever. Because I realize when you stop and you entertain that, you end up going to the circus, and then sooner or later people don't know who the clown is. You know what I mean?
As the clown.
Because now, as if I bring myself down to his level, I act like a clown. And what I also see on social media is people go down to certain levels to fight on, to fight the line and say this. You don't understand how that impacts you as a brand. Because now when people look at you, they're like, nah, but kyk die kinderkak wat hy entertain. Because they obviously are academic people watching it also. It's not just children. Because the children will be like, yeah, say for him, vertel for him. But someone else big is like, are you really doing this? Like, if people follow me for humor, I can't go on social media and say, yeah, die goed sy maas en sy maas en sy maas. Because what about, again, the people that followed me for the funniness? Then that means I'm changing the whole directive of my brand now and what I stand for. So trolls, ek worry nie mense. Ek kan maar whatever sê, man. Ek gaan aan met die ding, jong. Ons kap aan.
And another thing is this also, like you said, you don't know who's watching you.
Yes.
From your journey on the internet and on social media, have you met any person that you thought you would never have met, like back in the day when you were a youngster, before Meyer, now before you became Mr Meyer on the internet? Was there any person you wanted to meet and you didn't know you were going to meet him later on because of your social media?
First I'm going to say I met him all.
Okay, quite.
If there was anyone, because I mean, obviously been on radio for more than 11 years and I've interviewed so many people, but I don't know. I think again in the earlier days it was very exciting. Like the first time being on radio for the first, it was. I don't want to sound almost like jy ken hy ding man, ken die mense man. Almal julle idols is by vriende, you know. Almal die mense wie julle mou is by vriende. But like that, like in the early days, I was super excited to meet the people for the first time. I was like, yo, I'm gonna meet this one. I'm like, yo, I have a photo. I remember some person that I still consider go to this day, you know, was meeting Mark Lottery.
Quite.
Mark Lottery is a good friend of mine, and I remember watching Mark growing up, and I had this conversation all the time because we chomas now, and I'm like, Mark, you know what, from the Cape Flats with love, you know, and watching this stuff growing up and seeing you on the TV and that, as well as the guys from Joe Barber, again, that was also cult classics, like Joe Barber, Mark Lottery, and Wayne McKay, watching all those stand-up comedies growing up, and I love stand-up comedy, by the way, watching all of them. And then to them all becoming friends of mine or associates or people that I work with. For me, that was nice. It was a beautiful feeling, you know. I think over the years, I've adapted to all the people. Like I know them all now, man. I mean, I get to meet you,
and I get to meet you.
But
And then also, I've read some of your stuff on Facebook, and there's something I want to ask you, man. And I think I was also there, but I want to hear your story is where you became an atheist, where you stopped believing.
Yes.
And I think most of us get to the point because you see what's happening on the Cape Flats. Now, find yourself, is daar nie 'n Here nie, man?
Yes.
How did you bounce back from being a non-spiritual person to a spiritual person to being Mr Meyer now?
Look, I mean, so my reason wasn't about like, look at all the horror in the world. I can't be a god. I know that's a lot. It's a narrative for a lot of people. Mine was more on along the lines of, I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe there's just no meaning to this. This is a young me thinking to myself, you know what? Miskien as jy dood gaan, as jy net dood, is net donker. There's no heaven, there's no hell, you know, julle weet nie waartoe julle gaan nie. Everyone has this idea about what their dogma says, what their religion says. You're going to the kingdom of heaven, you're going to Jannah, you're going to Jahannam, you're going to hell, you're going to be reincarnated, jy kom terug soos 'n hond. Verstaan jy nou? Of jy kom terug as 'n kite of 'n ride of 'n giraffe, whatever jy is, verstaan jy nou? So there was many different things going on. Miskien kon jy terug soos 'n vark. Oink oink. But anyways, like, you know, so I was just on the notion of what you know what, there's no God, because here's my mom, she's Muslim, here's my dad, he's Christian. I've grown up in a household having to choose which religion you are. I just thought, weet jy wat, toe help my nie al twee. Ek is maar niks nou. Ek is maar niks nou. Ek gaan my eie way vind. And being that was, someone actually asked me this question just the other day. They were like, yeah, you're religious now, and like, how was life when you were like a non-believer? Ek sê, it was kaklekker. Why? But listen, this is me being real about it, because the thing is, there was nothing stopping me, or there was no moral compass for me. And that's the thing, when there's no moral compass, everything's okay.
Yes.
Also, I had another conversation with someone when they says like, there can't be a God if so much bad exists. But by definition of you saying good and bad means you already believe that there's a power in place, because what is good? Anyways, I don't want to get into that, because that's a bit deep for you. Long story short is, I didn't believe it. And why was it kaklekker? Because ek het alles gedoen. Ek het so maar hand toe, soen toe, soen toe. Mense sê, jy kan nie so praat, jy poes ook, man. En hulle sê, hoe kan jy nou so praat? Ek sê, waarin hulle sê, you know, God won't be pleased. Hey, God is langly pleased with jou nie. So, I mean, and then getting to a point where you start reading. No sick, no leesick. And then if you believe in Islam, you know, did a wonder not come to you, and did you not learn something? Now, once you read something, and once you know something, you can't teruggaan, because now you know this. And becoming more religious, and I started reading, I'm like, yeah, but now I know this now. Now I'm just going to do that again. Because once you know something, you have to act on it. And I think what brought me back was just like, in the moment of being lost, I needed help. I asked God for help, because Allahu Akbar, you know, oh, I need your help. Can you guide me? Can you show me a way? And I think lots of people have the testimony where they ask God to show them. You know, different people have different religions. But I personally asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show me guidance, and I think more paths started to open up. And if I look in retrospect, I see it was kaklekker, but I was on a bad path, man. Because ek was besig met klomp goed te kom, toekoms. You know, my broer, laat ek jou sê, dit is ek. As jy nou terugkyk, kyk jy sê, vir ek het jou. And I was like, bad, but now, I mean, in retrospect, I'm like, I'm happier, I'm clear-minded, I feel clearer, I'm still going to be me. Ek gaan nog altyd 'n paar maal goed te sê nou en dan, but I'm still a believer. I'm still going to pray, because, again, what people don't understand is what makes you Muslim is simply, it's praying 5 times a day. You know, that's what separates you and a non-believer. It's not about all the other things that people want to add on it and make it a bit deeper. It's your personal connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think I have that, and that doesn't dictate how I'm going to have to deal with society, culture, life. We have, again, multifaceted. There's so much different ways. Ek kan hier kom as 'n imam, verstaan jy nou? Kom ek nou met 'n lang koffie en 'n turban en sê, "Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh." Môre maak ek 'n video sê, "Ja, ek sien die fucking reën." Verstaan jy nou? So, yeah, man. I think just going back to it, So, I think I'm still going to be me, but praying is very important,
And you keep your private life private, right?
Yes.
So we're not going to go there. Because like me also, I keep my private life private, and we need to respect it. But this is what I want to ask you. Are you happy with the man that you turned out to be, that you are becoming still? Because remember, like when somebody asks you about your father or me, are you happy? Did you learn from the man that that your father was? And also, as say improvement from your pa. Because what we don't understand is people from the Cape Flats, you need to be improvement of your parents.
Yes.
And do you feel that you have grown, that you can say, I'm busy improving still?
Yes, 100%. I think I'm still growing more and more every day. You know what, I also want to say this also to especially our brown people, so happy that you brought this up, is that, like, our people, julle moet vir therapy gaan. Mense, I think the people think it's a joke. But even someone like you, someone like me, all of us, even myself, I've delved into this and then go into more of into therapy and you're speaking about your problems, speaking about what's going on in yourself, you don't realize how much you guys need that, because every single person watching us is sitting with some form of trauma.
Yeah.
Miskien was your pa nie aan, miskien was your ma nie daar nie.
Yeah.
You grew up with a dead mother. Something happened to you along there. You were sexually abused. Someone raped you. Someone hurt you. You still keeping the secret to this day about something that happened to you over time. You know, someone has been through something traumatic, and you sitting with that, and you don't realize how you show up in the world is because of those traumas. And if you ask me, I'm 100% trying my best to do better every day. This is my life's work. Every single day I wake up trying to be better than yesterday. Trying to learn something new, trying to do something new, trying to touch more lives, trying to encourage more people, sometimes through comedy, sometimes through education, sometimes just through being myself, and sometimes just spiritual messages. And it's going to look different for every single person, because everyone is going, guys, you don't understand how much trauma we're going through there. Some people are still doing drugs because of trauma, because they're trying to numb the pain, they're trying to escape from feelings. Some people are still getting drunk every day. Why? Because they don't know how to unpack what's going on inside. Our people on the Cape Coast are traumatized.
Yes.
100%. I mean, even myself, you know, through our journeys of life. And I think those trauma, you need to start speaking about it. You need to go to places and facilities. As is soos in die movies, soos in Amerika, waar ze gaan nou sit hier met jou psychologist, kyk eens zo, die en dan gaan sê, weet jy wat, sy moet nogal die gebruik. No, it's not like that. It's just, you need to get out the things you've been holding.
Yes.
And those things that you've been holding here, it affect you. Dagelijks. So 100% every day to do better. I'm not where I want to be not at all. I think with my journey there's still much more I would like to achieve, to be, and like to be the best version of myself every single day, and just 1% better than yesterday is enough for me.
You mentioned something about trauma. Trauma is that same thing that is killing us, because
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes when I speak to you, I don't realize I speak to you out of anger. Ek het baie kwaad gemaak.
Yes.
But because of what is inside of me, I'm not taking out that anger on you. And that is also the problem that we have. My daughter studies psychology.
Yes.
And ek is 'n patient. Maria is a patient.
Okay.
So it's like whatever she like, you know, whatever wat sy nog geleer het, and she will talk to me. And I realize, but daar's so baie dinge. Hoe gaan ons sê, daar's so baie dinge wat ons mense nie van weet nie. Different type of traumas.
Yes, 100%.
Traumas through relationships, traumas through what you saw, like a boy going to school, seeing a dead body. You might not get counseling now, and in 10 years' time, that will come back to you. And the thing with trauma is it comes back later on.
100%.
When I turned 30-odd, 32, 33, then my trauma came back to me.
Yes.
And I didn't know what was wrong with me. And so just see, ons mense gaan mos na 'n psychologist toe. Ons is fine. Daai mense is vir wit mense.
Wit mense is maar ja.
Dan realize jy ook iemand sê iemand nodig. En when you start talking to them, they actually teach you, hulle gee jou tools man, om jouself te help. But I think that thing on the Cape Flats, nee man, ek is so right. And boys don't cry. I think Meyer, we need to tell the young men, it's okay to cry. It's okay to make a mistake.
You know, I mean, you didn't nail on the head here tonight, you know, and I think that every single lighty watching this, any bra watching this, you know, that whole macho act that you have to be, it's always and you have to be the man all the time, because, you know, we look at us, we millennials, you know, and then I look at growing up, and then it was like, jy vir dis na jy vir kak. So maar nee, but dit gebeur gister. Hou net jou mond, moenie praat van or something happened in the family, and then we try to sweep it under the table and say, hallo, moenie van daai goed praat, moenie van daai goed praat. But this whole long line of all this kind of things happening has created this trauma, and you know, and young men thinking that hulle moenie always al die tyd 24/7 moet jihad. I know people that were gang fighting, hulle gegaan of hulle het gaan war met mense, but I knew deep in their heart they didn't want to do that. Hulle wil by die huis gewees met hulle families, but they had something to prove to other people, because our people already had the idea with dis die OD. So kyk eens, ons expect hy moet staan, hy moet gekak maak. But then I used to speak to the people, I'm like, my bro, but is that really what you want to do? He's like, I don't. But wat anders kan ek doen? Die mense depend op my. So now we have young boys getting into that mind where they think you can't cry or you can't show emotion. You can show emotion. I'll say your mind pa, of jy moenie jou verkakkie. I'll say your mind pa. Sy kan nie about that. If that makes you feel a certain way, you are allowed to say that. And we don't have enough spaces where people can go to, or maybe there are people just don't know where to go. Where they can go speak about that thing, because that's going to affect you. It might not affect you now. Jy kan maar dink jy lewe as jy oud, jy kan maar jy lewe dink as die day of die. Somewhere along the way, it's going to affect you up here. And until you start speaking about it, and until you start finding out what the problem is and what is your coping mechanisms that you've been going through. Do you have unhealthy coping mechanisms? Like how we spoke about that, some people's unhealthy coping mechanisms as Taga, as Xanax, as lean, as cocaine, as whatever they do. You know, people have different, like some people think that they're using drugs and alcohol because they want to party. No, you're trying to drown something deep inside you that you still haven't dealt with. And we need to start speaking about it. Most number one, education and having proper counseling and therapy because your people are going through the worst.
And I think they should make counseling available at schools.
Yes.
Because if we can counsel our children 7, 8, 9 years old, because remember when they get to, some of our kids don't finish high school.
Yes.
And then they roam with that trauma. So I think we need to look at how do we capture this? How do we get to them? You know, when they're young. I mean, we have an issue now where the mother and the father is both on drugs. The grandmother is raising the child. The grandmother can't help the child. So the child is being bullied at school. So that's another thing, is where children are being bullied.
Yes.
What do you think about this other thing that I have now recently noticed, the meet and greets, but as 13-year-old, 12-year-old ladies with my meet and greet, and then they go and go fight in Central City.
Look, so again, this is something that me and my friends were sitting and discussing. Look at when we were younger also. We also went to Grand West, we also went to Canal Oak, we also went to Winter Wonderland, we also went to Dockside, we went to all these places. But ons jonger was het ook baklei. Again, I'm not normalizing, ons het ook baklei. I was miskien nie founsie.
Yes.
But ons jonger was het in die mense mekaar gejaag met mes stuff, you know, I mean, there was real fights. And now, because social media is so now, everybody has a phone, everybody has a TikTok. We are just seeing more stuff that already happened. But essentially, what is the problem now? Is it the meet and greets? Is it because the people feel like they are famous enough to have meet and greets, or is it just people just meeting and greeting for real? Because also people have that misconception. Also, it's not also about being famous. Also, sometimes it's a meet and greet like. Oh, that means it's a BBM context meet of some mixed context. Now meet my mixed context Grand West. When they say meet and greet, it's not always about it's a meet and greet of someone famous. You and me have been chatting for 3 months. Ons had meet vanavond for the eerste keer. We're all going to the same place. It's not just about hulle famous, we're going to meet them. It's about all different contexts and people all meeting together. The fights happening again. It's the same thing. I mean, there's a traumatized kids, you know, and I think kids that don't have enough guidance. So if you go to that place and you don't know how to behave, or you come from a certain neighborhood and you feel like you have to act a certain way, I think that's part of it. It's the people say, no, ons moet die doen, ons moet die doen, ons moet verseker maak die kinders gaan nie meer mall toe nie. I don't know. If I look at it, I think it goes back to be at home. It goes back to the foundation. Because if you're gonna raise your child properly and the values that you teach them, and the school teaches them the proper values, and they actually take heed of that, and they aren't misguided, it will make for better kids going out. Because it's not all the kids. Because all of us now, hoe kan ek sê, I was amper 6,000-8,000 kinders, maak nou 'n voorbeeld. Hoe dit baklei. Now, are we saying the other 5,000, 8,000? Because now we can't paint them all with the same brush. You know what I mean? It's the same way people gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna let colors dieselfde. But you started your work when you're like, I came from the Cape Flats, I'm from there, but you can't paint me with the same brush, the same, because I think there's a lot of children that went there just to have a good time. So salute to them. You know?
But and the other thing is this, like you said, now there wasn't cameras back then. But I mean, I like this. My bro, we still work together. He's now 42, 44 years old. He started smoking in grade 8.
Okay, so in what? Cigarettes?
Yeah. And it says, nowadays when we see a lady in grade 8 smoke, it's like a big thing. It was like that back then already. I think, like I said, social media just showing what we've been neglecting that time. It was issues that we were supposed to address. And do you feel that some people are using social media to elevate also the wrong things? Because when I started out Cape Flat Stories, I wanted to show the Cape Flats.
Yes.
But it was mostly just fighting. Later on, people thought that Cape Flat Stories is just about the gang wars and that. It wasn't about it. It was to show people. But I think some people are just posting whole day what's happening on the Cape Flats that is wrong. Instead of posting the good things, like guys like yourself, like youngster, those guys, and others, many others that made it out of the Cape Flats, that are trying to change the whole narrative.
Look, I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm a journalism graduate, you know, and the one thing we learned in journalism was if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
So what this means? People love drama and people love blood.
Yeah.
People love chaos and violence. We are by design drawn to the stuff. This is us being human beings. We like that stuff. We say we don't. But I mean, if you watch that action movie, die Skopskiet en Donner movie was my julle favorites growing up. Julle time movies was it Clint Eastwood, was it whoever, julle time movies gekyk.
Yeah.
So now, in today's world, people want to see that stuff. Even like if you say, let's focus on the positive stuff. Like I wish we were that emotionally intelligent to be like, yeah, let's focus on this, because there are some people.
Yeah.
But ons wil sien die kak wat moet jy gesien hoe skiet hulle jy. Jy gesien hoe gooi hulle bro met 'n baksteen. We like that stuff. Our people like that stuff. So you're gonna say we should focus on that. They're going to keep watching that stuff regardless. And again, it goes all the way back to education.
Yeah.
It goes back to your values, what you guys enjoy, what you've been taught, the community you stay in, your family, your life, your upbringing. Those kind of things all play a major part of it, man. You know. Awesome mense, jare, ons is diep in die kak en mense, ek gaan nie lieg, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't wanna sound like it's like there's no hope. There definitely is hope, but it's gonna take a lot of work, because saying that we can have change in the Cape Flats for me right now seems like a pipe dream.
Yeah.
And that's me being honest, because people have come, people have tried. We can see what's going on, man. So sometimes I look at it, I'm like, fuck, is this the same world that my children's gonna grow up in? Like, this is me. Like, I'm not even scared about myself anymore. Like, like, when I say about myself, I'm not really worried about me anymore. I'm like, the future, man. Like, wat gaat die life's nog gaan mee, bro? As die so like it now. What about in 5 years? What about in 6 years? What about in 10 years? Because remember, the ones who are the kids now are gonna become the next adults.
Yes.
Like, where do we go from there? I don't know. We need intervention, bro. Bro. Allah, you need to come down. We need God to. We literally need God to come down into the Cape Flats and throw a magic blanket on it. But again, I mean, to be real about it, it starts with you. Education, learning, and being better. Speak about your trauma. Speak about your problems, and man, connect with that.
And I think just supporting one another, Meyer.
Yes, 100%.
You know, ek kan nou van Meyer wys, ek gaan jou support. When it comes to us, like, ons gaan ry uit die plein net Kaap toe om haar kos te gaan koop. Daar is restaurants in die Mitchellsplein, goeie restaurants. Why don't we support the guys in Mitchellsplein? Because that is where we create jobs. That is where the money stays. And I think ons is te bang om mekaar te support. Ek is bang sy gaan 'n nuwe kar hê. Ek is bang sy gaan vorentoe. Like you say, we're like crabs in a bucket.
Yes.
Ons trek mekaar af. That is our biggest challenge, is to accept one another, man. That we can be successful on our own.
Just sien die mindset van baie mense, unfortunately, is wat is dit dan vir my? Sy sê wat is dit vir my? So ek kan vir jou support, but nou wat kry ek aan haar uit? You know what I mean? If it benefits you, then you're going to be more eager, more keen to connect to that. So again, I feel like I'm a broken record. Like, it's a pipe dream to say like that. It's gonna be kumbaya. We're all gonna support each other. We're all gonna love Maka, and we're gonna uplift our men. So that's doing great, and it's gonna be this beautiful Cape Town where we all support, and there's no more violence, and there's no more drugs, and we all rich, and everyone's loving liquor. Yo, I must also smack a world like it, bro. I also smack a Cape Town like it. But right now, I would hope that you watching this. But the thing also goes back to egos, man, and like. Sy kan nie beter aan my wees nie. Like, you know, people always have the conversation that they want you to do good but never better than them.
Yes.
Now, that's never been my mindset. I've really wanted people to, I'm like, bro, be better than me, because that would make me happy. Like, do more things. But because I've just been in my own lane, doing my own thing, like, they can't compare me to anyone because I'm doing my own thing. I've been doing my own thing, you know what I mean? And if anyone else comes and doing this stuff, like, I'm like, bro, this is great. Like, maybe what you're doing is great. Whatever, if it's positive stories, like, there is still good in the world.
Yes.
So let's keep supporting the people who are doing good. And that might look like different things to different people, but I don't know. I really pray that things will get better.
One of our followers, Lali's F1 in motorsports, says Mr. Meyer should do school talks. Youngsters need to hear this. Have you been involved with schools?
I have. So I've done some school tours. I did some school tours myself again, and youngster, Blake the Champ. We went to different schools, and But that was a couple of years ago. Even myself, I went in my own personal capacity, especially to my old high school. I went to different schools to go speak about my journey, my upbringing, my background. So yeah, I have gone to a few schools as well. I haven't as of late, no.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Cape Town Stories can organize something, Mali, get us a sponsor.
Yes, we will.
Simplified IT, what, get us a sponsor.
He's shaking his head.
Yes. So we need branded vehicles.
Yes.
And we need a sponsor. So if you guys are watching this.
Yeah.
Yes, and cameras.
Yes.
So myself and Stan and the whole team will be there.
Yeah.
We go to every school in the Cape Flats, bro, right across the city. Definitely.
And that is what the writers need.
Yes.
They need men like us from the Cape Flats to tell them the story. How did you meet Youngster before we end up? How did you and Youngster become brasa?
Yo, bro, I mean, we lumped together back in the day. So my friend Muffy, Brandon Court, he had a studio back in his house. Back in, what year was that? 2000, what was that? 10, 9, 11, 12, 13, maybe. Was it around 2013, 2014? So we all used to go to Brandon's house. So Brandon Court, aka the Muffin Man. So we went to school together. Brandon used to send me beats and we used to listen to the man's beats and stuff. And we were also rapping at the time. We had I think my rap name at the time was King Doc, and we were rapping and we were busting a few rhymes. Me and my friends, cousins, all friends, we all went to Muffy's house. They were like, nah, there's more artists here. We're 16 at the time.
Yeah.
Come in there, so it's young, it's all the other manna, it's Jerry, everybody was there. That's where we all met up together in that man's garage at the age of 16 years old, yeah. And that's where we connected in the early days. And then I used to obviously go to the events where the man was performing at the schools, all the different high schools and stuff, and giving out his CDs at the Sprawl, Old Turfel. So I think from there was an early connection, and also again we just had mutual friends that we connected, yeah.
And that is where we actually started. And the thing is this, as Mr. Meyer, do people always come up and say, "Me bro, can I take a photo of it?" And do you allow them to take a photo?
Nah, I like photos met my friend.
Because these guys, they must pay nowadays, eh?
Nee, ek waar nie kon vat 'n foto. Ek maak altyd jokes met hulle. Hulle kom, ja, Mr. Meyer, kan ek 'n foto? Ja, 100 rand 'n foto. Hulle sê, "Jo, Mr. Meyer, jam hier ja, alles oor die foto." Hulle wou jou Facebook, jou Instagram kom, my 100 rand. Ek sê, "Ek maak kak man, vat die foto." If I'm busy, I'm busy. But I always have time to stop and connect. Also, I think some people might just learn small things. Just about etiquette. As a man, jy met 'n date is, moet ek 'n foto met 'n man eet my bro. Nou, as jy van daai nie, nou is daar samaties soos in my neus op my oor. Ek moet nou soos aan die foto. Nee, maar laat die man is dit. As jy miskien sien in die mall en jy wil 'n foto hê, wag net laat hy broek ook klaar eet en sê, "Kom, maar ek sien nou dis klaar eet my broek en as hy foto nou van, ja, no problem." Maar moenie man, kan jy sê, "Nee man." You know? So I mean that's always fine. It's always fine. I got love. I believe I am definitely a people's person. I'm from the street. I'm for the people. I'm by the people. I'm with the people. Like my wife say, I'm of my ken. Hulle weet ek is met hulle. Yeah, to die wiele afgaan, bro. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to do a public service announcement for the mense. But I also want you to just leave something with the young men. Like I said, I brought my son with. He never comes with me.
Nice to meet you,
He wanted to meet you.
Respect.
So that for me is big. Yeah. So I mean, there's many other young people like him. I want you to speak to them and just give him a word.
Salute Kapsa Autonasibru Mr. Meyer, back with another public service announcement to every single person watching this. If you're going through something, just know that you can get through it. It doesn't matter who says that you can't do it. I say that you can do it. Nothing in this life is impossible. If you have a dream, keep focused on that dream and go for it and follow it and believe that it's possible. No one can stop you. Let no one crush your dreams. If anyone is hurting you, making you feel like you aren't worthy, just remember you are worthy. You are a creation of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you. God has created you for a reason because you have a purpose. You see that thing beating in your chest right now, it's beating because you have the capability to become the greatest thing in the world. You can achieve all your dreams. You can achieve all your goals. You are worthy of being great. You are worthy of being successful. And sometimes life is going to feel hard. It's never always going to be smooth sailing. It's going to feel like the world is coming crashing down upon you. You have to be resilient in those times. You have to stand tall and take those hard times on the chin because good times are always coming. And that's how God works. You know, some days are good days, some days are bad days. But as long as you keep believing, as long as you keep dreaming, everything is possible. For myself, Meyer, salute and a Kaapstad for life.
Meyer, thank you so much, bro.
Brother, it's a pleasure to you. Thank you for having me on your platform. And
pleasure, bro.
Everyone here, respect.
Yeah. Somebody said here, Yasin Hanslow, one of the best and realest conversations I've seen on social media in a very long time. Respect, Owens.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. But Meyer, do what you do, bro. We respect you. We love you. And we support you. At the end of the day, Meyer, the TV has indoctrinated us.
Yes.
We have our own platforms now to tell our stories. And we're doing it the way, the Cape Flats way or your way. You know, like you said earlier on, also mense verstaan ons praat.
Yes.
Hulle verstaan ons slang, hulle verstaan ons heartbeat. So I think it's for us just to keep moving and to keep the Cape Flats or the Ghetto Life, or not the Ghetto Life, the Cape Flats light shining. So thank you so much, bro.
It's been a pleasure, man.
And
Thank
I
you
hope
again.
to have you again soon.
Definitely, anytime for everybody watching this.
Mr. Meyer, guys.
I'm
Thank
out.
you so much.
Salute.
Cheers.
Preview. Preview.